At last night's second presidential debate, Governor Mitt Romney held President Obama accountable for every single one of his failures over the last 4 years. It was by far the single best indictment that President Obama has faced yet. The media, you should learn from this. Here are some of the highlights.
We just can't afford 4 more years like the last 4 years. He said that by now we'd have unemployment at 5.4%. The difference between where it is and 5.4% is 9 million Americans without work. I wasn't the one that said 5.4%. This was the president's plan. Didn't get there. He said he would have by now put forward a plan to reform Medicare and Social Security because he pointed out they're on the road to bankruptcy. He would reform them. He'd get that done. He hasn't even made a proposal on either one. He said in his first year he'd put out an immigration plan that would deal with our immigration challenges. Didn't even file it. This is a president who has not been able to do what he said he'd do. He said that he'd cut in half the deficit. He hasn't done that either. In fact, he doubled it. He said that by now middle-income families would have a reduction in their health insurance premiums by $2,500 a year. It's gone up by $2,500 a year. He keeps saying, look, I've created 5 million jobs. That's after losing 5 million jobs. The entire record is such that the unemployment has not been reduced in this country. The unemployment, the number of people who are still looking for work, is still 23 million Americans. There are more people in poverty. 1 out of 6 people in poverty. How about food stamps? When he took office, 32 million people were on food stamps. Today, 47 million people are on food stamps. You might say, well, you got an example of when it worked better? Yeah. In the Reagan recession, where unemployment hit 10.8%, between that period, the end of that recession, and the equivalent period of time to today, Ronald Reagan's recovery created twice as many jobs as this president's recovery. 5 million jobs doesn't even keep up with our population growth. Median income's down $4,300 a family, and 23 million Americans out of work. That's what this election is about.
And joining us now is the author of the brand new book, Here Come the Black Helicopters, former Clinton advisor Dick Morris. That was the single, and this is where the media, I mean, Barack Obama has a pulse compared to being comatose. Oh, he showed up, so he gets a 3 on a 10 scale. Romney goes up from the last debate as far as I'm concerned. That was a devastating indictment of what the last 4 years have been.
Yeah, well, yes, absolutely. And the first half hour of this debate was on gas prices and the economy.
And Obama lied there, too.
It was clear that Obama had no responses. He was basically telling people, what are you going to believe, your own eyes or my statistics and my speeches? And when he tried to say, I'm pro-oil drilling, you know, forget the last 4 years. We've created lots of jobs. Your future is very bright. Everybody understands that that's not correct.
2 things on the gas thing. Do you realize this is a president who said, we're making the case against drilling? He actually said, all you need to do is inflate your tires and get a tune-up. I mean, and then last night he actually said this remarkable thing, just amazing. He actually said the reason gas prices were $1.84 a gallon when it took off is because the economy's bad. Mr. President, the economy's bad. Based on your notion, it should be $1 a gallon.
Yeah, but the $1.81 was an increase. It had gradually been increasing, and then under him, it soared.
It's more than double.
And it's more than double.
Nearly $4 a gallon.
But you know, I got news for you. It's not that gas doubled. It's that the dollar lost half its value. Yeah. Gold still is where it was in terms of oil. Any constant measurement shows that that hasn't changed. The dollar has lost half of its value.
You told me just before we started this interview, you said Romney, and I know you've been very optimistic, frankly, too optimistic. I think you're over the edge.
I've been completely accurate.
All right, but you see, I saw this debate the way you did. I thought this was a knockout. I thought just because the president shows up, he wasn't in a comatose state. I give you, Mr. President, the espresso worked. I'm glad he didn't take Uncle Joe Biden's happy pills. So he shows up with a pulse. He wins. You know, the liberal media goes nuts. But I saw this far differently. I thought Romney just shredded him, and you could see it on the president's face.
Well, yeah, but I look at a debate through different eyes than others do, because I'm not so much concerned about who looked good, who didn't look good, who sounded good, and so on. What I'm focusing on is the strategic mix of the issues involved. Jimmy Carter learned, and Barack Obama is about to learn, that when you base your entire campaign not on your record and not on your vision for a second term, but on savaging your opponent and making them feel that he's a danger, like they did with Reagan and they're trying to do with Romney. Then when the candidate shows up in a debate and you see this perfectly reasonable, nice guy who's totally sane,
wasted all
who
that money.
obviously is compassionate, cares, understands what the average person's life is like, it dismisses your whole campaign. And at that point, you're left with nothing because you haven't defended your record and you haven't laid out an alternate vision. The CNN poll about this debate asked people, do you think Barack Obama painted a clear vision of solutions for this country? 34 said yes. Romney, 50 said yes. Vast difference, and that's the point.
On the economy, the CBS poll gave this debate 65 to 34 Romney, and that's the issue of our time.
Now that Romney, by 2 consecutive good appearances, where he spoke from the heart, he spoke about his role as a minister, did all kinds of stuff like that, has debunked Obama's portrait of him, there is nothing holding the Romney vote
Last
down.
question. Would you put it past Barack Obama to get involved in a military conflict with Libya or someone else before the campaign?
Well, I think you may have a drone strike killing the people that killed our ambassador. A broader action, I'm not sure. But there is something that I think Romney ought to do. The U.S. ambassador to the United Nations last week said that the UN is on the verge, with American consent, of taxing the internet, imposing a fee on internet users. And I talk about that in Black Helicopters, the book. But the point is, where is Romney on this issue? You want an issue to get young people to vote for Mitt Romney, to turn on Barack Obama? Try telling them the internet will be taxed. Every time they go to Google, they'll have to pay $1.50.
All right, Dick Morris, congrats on the new book, and another New York Times bestseller.
Yeah.
Awesome.
But what's important is that these issues are not being talked about, and they've got to be.
Well, I agree with you. Good job.
Thank you.